What is going on, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of World's Finest, brought to you by the Comic Collectors Guild. With you, as always, I'm your host. You guys know me as Jake, aka the Superman, and with me, as always, from Gotham City, Lee Lawson is in the house. Lee, how are you, sir?
I am great, Jake. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. We got some special guests today. Lee, who we got with us?
I'm very excited. Tonight's a very special night, guys. We've got three special guests. First up, let me introduce you guys to them all. We've got the VP of the Comic Collectors Guild himself, Mr. L.T. Flores. How are you, sir? Nice to meet you.
How y'all doing? How you doing?
Glad you're here tonight.
Thank you.
Next up, you can find him also on Instagram at House of Geekery. We also have Dave. You can find him on Instagram at Everything Batman 219. How are you, Dave? Welcome.
Doing great, man. Doing great. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you guys. We also have Tabitha. You can find on Instagram at Gotham Dark Fox Love. Tabitha, we're excited to have you here tonight. Welcome.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Before we get started, like Jake said, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about, I guess your love of Batman and how that came to be. LT, why don't you kick it off?
Oh, I'm from old school Batman lovers. I mean, I remember vividly watching reruns of Batman 66 with my father back in the day, early 70s, late 70s. It blossomed into the Super Friends, and from there, I just boomed into action figures, and I've just been a Batman fan, and ever since. I mean, my earliest Batman figures I have are from the late 80s, still unopened, and I'm still a hardcore collector today, so that's basically it. I mean, Batman is basically my life.
I love it, man. Yeah, that's great. He is. He's Batman is life, right? So, you and I sound like we're on the same trajectory as far as Batman goes. Batman 66. That was my first love of where I was introduced to him as well. So that's awesome, man. David, what about you, my friend?
I started off real young. I was introduced to it by my babysitter. She didn't want to take care of me, so I just watched TV.
One of the best babysitters, right? One of the best.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Let's not take care of him. Just go watch TV and sit over there. And I just watched Batman 66 reruns over and over again. And then I guess I'm fairly young when it comes to the how long Batman's been around. Around 92 when Batman Returns came out, my father took me out to that. Came out, went to McDonald's, picked up the cups, wanted to collect the cups.
Cups.
I guess when I got a little older, my dad bought me like a DKR 1 book. I think I still have it somewhere in the house. And somewhere along the line, I stopped collecting, and I forgot about collecting comics. But I stuck to the movies and watched that. And then I think it was like the Nolan series came back. Nolan series started.
Yeah.
Batman Begins, and I was like, wait a minute. I love Batman. What have I been doing? And then went nuts. So that's pretty much where it all started from, and I guess revived again.
That's awesome, man. So you bring up an interesting tidbit. You mentioned the Happy Meals after Batman Returns, and that Happy Meal product placement they had is one of the main reasons why Tim Burton didn't come back for part 3. People were running out and buying to the Happy Meals, and they were like going to the movie and like, what? This is a dark film, not quite a Happy Meal material. So
I was
anyway,
happy with it.
I get it. Yeah. No, it just brought to my mind that story. No, thanks for sharing that, Dave. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem.
Tabitha.
Hey, so
how are you?
Good. How are you? I guess my love for Batman started when I was younger, but I'm a 90s girl. So for me, honestly, my first memory was Batman Returns. And then I remember watching Batman 89 and then Batman Forever and then Batman Robin. So I kind of went a little backwards and forwards, but I was young. But I was totally fascinated with Batman. I stole my brother's Batman 89 comic, or not Batman 89, Batman Returns comic. I still have it. I sent a picture to him last year, and he was like, I used to have that. And I was like, yeah, that is it, bro. that is your comic.
Right.
So I owe him one eventually, maybe.
Maybe.
But I didn't really get into the comics until 2009. mostly because I just didn't know where to start in Batman. But that was also around when New 52 was starting, and so that gave me a good chance to kind of dig in. Made some good friends that made some great recommendations who started me off with like Batman Hush, Batman Year One, Dark Knight Returns. There's more that I'm just blanking out
So
on.
much more.
But yeah, so much more. But like, some really good basic, Batman stories to start off with. And then from there, I've kind of just been like grasping what I really love. And then the Nolan series really got me reinterested and reengaged again. So yeah, it's just been a growing passion. Right now, it's become more like collectibles, comics, pops. If you guys know my page, then you'll know all my Batman t-shirts. That actually was just like, I just realized that I had this many, and I was like, why don't I just start posting these? And then before I knew it, I have over 140, and it's still going.
Wow.
So it's just been like, over 10 years of collecting, art. That's another thing that I have. I have a lot of Batman art. But Batman is life, like you guys said. I mean, I have it branded on my skin, so I have made a dedication to myself that I would be, worthy of having it. So that is why I am such a crazy Batman.
That's so cool.
There's nothing crazy about it. It's normal.
Yeah, it's totally normal.
It's normal in this group.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. There's nothing out of the realm for Batman. But, one of the things that makes Batman so great is, the hero can only be as good as his villains, and nobody has better villains than Batman. His rogues gallery kind of makes Batman who he is and what's so, interesting about this world. So we thought on this episode, since we're all Batman lovers, we would be counting down the top 10 Batman villains. This is part 1, so it's going to be a 2-part series. On this episode, we're going to be breaking down number 10 through number 6. There's so many villains to pick from, so we wanted to make it fair, maybe do 1 or 2 honorable mentions. So let's just get into this thing. LT, to start it off, who is an honorable mention or 2 that you have that almost made your list, but not quite?
I've got 2, and surprising enough, they are both currently Bat family figures. I'm talking about Catwoman.
Oh, okay.
Who, yes, has started off as a villain.
I am wearing a Catwoman villain shirt.
Yeah. She was very much a villain until she became that love interest of his, and now she's family. And then the second one, again, like I said, Bat family, was Jason Todd, Red Hood. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And a villain. Started off as a villain, anti-hero type, until, he didn't really see the light. He just finally decided, Batman's kind of right. I'll be with him.
As always. I would say, too, Red Hood, man, he might be the fastest growing in popularity character, I think, in the whole Batman world. He's just exploded. Tabitha, for you, do you have 1 or 2 honorable mentions that almost made your list, but not quite?
Red Hood was one of mine. I put Tony Zuko and kind of Joe Chill kind of together because I feel like both of them are the epitome of kind of where Nightwing and Batman come from, depending on what story you're looking at.
Good choice.
But I feel like they're pretty par together in that area. And then this is going to maybe sound a little left field, but I feel like Bullock is representative of police that tend to be corrupt, which make it just as hard for Batman.
Dang, I like that. Going off the I like that.
That was a bit of a jaw dropper right there.
I like that.
Solid.
All right, Dave, follow that up, man. Who you got?
Oh, man. All right. So, all right. This is really recent. And the only reason I put these 2 on honorable mention is because it's still, I want to see them in future stories or like other writers throw them in there.
Are you going to say Punchline?
No. Yeah. I'm going to stick to Batman Who Laughs.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's very fresh. I still like
I didn't even consider that one.
I didn't either. As soon as you said that, I was like, ooh, that's good.
It's on my list. Sorry.
Nice work, guys. Wow.
I was thinking, I was like, God, can he be top 10? And I'm like, he possibly can. But I feel like there's so much more you could do. I feel like my top 10 at least has a lot of history behind who I chose. So I want to see what else he's capable of besides just jumping through multiverses, creating other monsters, and being Bruce Wayne's worst enemy, because he is Bruce Wayne and the Joker. And of course, the second one was Grim Knight, because let's be serious, a Batman that shoots people.
Yeah, he's no joke.
Yeah, he's no joke. He's just tired of it. I'm done. Yeah, everyone's gonna die. I mean, he's like the Terminator on steroids. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's pretty dope. But I want to see if I don't know. I want to see more of it. I feel like those stories, like there's more to those stories than what we've read so far. And you never know with the anime if they add him in an animated series, see how that comes out, or live action.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, those are my two. I stepped away from everyone else.
No, that's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Lee, who do you got?
For my honorable mentions, I think you guys are going to be like, what? How are these guys honorable mentions? But they should actually be in the top 10 list. For me, it's actually Poison Ivy. Well, Pamela Isley, I have her there. She's got the pheromones and all, and she's a classic heroine, or not heroine, villain. But she does dip her toe on the side of good, especially with the relationship with Harley Quinn and all of that. But she's really powerful, really powerful. I mean, she's in the Hush series and in the movies. I mean, she was able to basically take on Superman and get him under her control and used him as a weapon. She was using him as a weapon. So that's why she's an honorable mention for me. But I also have this one, and this is probably the most the one that's going to really be the jaw dropper, much like your Bullock was for me. But old Victor Freeze. Ooh. I have Mr. Freeze as an honorable mention.
Mr. Freeze is in my top 10.
He's in your top 10. I figured he would probably, that's what I'm saying, he'd probably be at the top 10.
Yeah, definitely.
But he was, but I actually excised him for someone else that we'll get to quite shortly.
Okay.
But
Fair enough. Fair enough. For me, I went with Clayface for number one. I think his backstory and kind of the going back and forth to kind of becoming a monster is very, very fascinating, especially how I remember in the animated series, which is kind of how I was introduced to Batman, the Batman animated series. Those Clayface episodes, the first couple were just, they were so enticing, and I loved Clayface from then on. So Clayface number one. And I had Harley Quinn, but honestly, after hearing Dave, I didn't even think of the Batman Who Laughs. I'm going to have to stick him in there because he is, I mean, literally Batman and the Joker combined, he's crazy. So I'm going to have to throw him on my list. He's crazy. I want to see, for the reasons you said, I just want to see a lot more of him. I want to see them dive into him more. I want to see him in a hard R, rated R live action film. I mean, my gosh, you thought the Joker was dark. If they did Batman Who Laughs, good gracious. But those are the honorable mentions. What we really want to see and hear are the top 10s. So at the number 10 spot, LT, who is number 10 for you?
That list was very hard. I mean, Batman's gallery is just phenomenal. Each one of them is just as bad as the next. But I chose Hush as my number 10.
Ooh,
good choice. Solid.
Only because he's part of the Batman's best storyline like ever written, Batman Hush, and a couple of sequels after that. But honestly, he kind of peaked early and hasn't really been a formidable foe since.
Yeah,
I mean, just because of the popularity of Hush and Heart of Hush and every pop up every once in a while, even in the video game. He was a formidable foe at one time, but not anymore. So he's still, I guess, strong only because he knows Bruce Wayne.
Right.
But other than that, that's why he's up there.
Makes sense. And as you touch on, Hush is one of those popular storylines of all time. So he's definitely worth being on anybody's list. Tabitha, who is your number 10?
My number 10 is Two-Face. I really love the relationship between Bruce and Harvey Dent. And I feel like he's a formidable foe in the sense that he's very smart. He knows how to use his contacts in a way that's conniving to him because of his, political background and things like that. But he's not afraid to get dirty. He's not afraid to kill people, and he's crossed that line after everything that he's lost and suffered through. So I feel like in a way he feels like he's justified in, serving out pain and the pain that he felt. But he also finds, Bruce Wayne as his friend. So there's kind of this, weird line between this dual, complexity of these two characters. So he was definitely, I didn't want to leave him off the list, but he's definitely not in my top. So he's my number 10.
Makes sense.
All good reasons.
Absolutely. Dave, how about you?
My number 10, LT. I agree with you. I went with Hush. Same reasons. He's part of one of the best stories that when it comes to Batman you could ever read. He was a lot of great villains are really close to Bruce Wayne, and that's when it comes out of left field. And I think Hush was like the perfect enemy. He knew Bruce Wayne growing up. He was hunting down Batman. He made his life a living hell, and that's what you want from an enemy. He is number 10, but with everything else, like we lost, I don't know, somewhere along the lines, and continuously we lost sight of Hush. It'd be great to have more of him in
Exactly.
recent reads. More of a common villain. But yeah, that's my number 10. Hush.
Good choice, sir. Lee, who you got?
This one is going to be this is actually the one who pushed old Victor off of my list here, guys. I think you guys are gonna be like this guy, but it's old Professor Pig. He's more of a recent character. He is, but the horror that he brings with him and the
and his opera music.
The grotesqueness.
He's so creepy.
He brings, it just is. He brings the horror aspect of Batman to the forefront. Go ahead.
It was going to say it reminds me of like American Horror Story mixed with like Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just so hard. It's just so dark and twisted. He's just obsessed with making people the perfect, by the blend or the bonding of the doll parts on their face and the way he.
Lee doesn't like gore at all. Like body
I'm
horror.
not a big body horror guy at all. And so those stories, and he's still new too, to where I think he's going to be even used more and more throughout the years. He got a big play on Gotham, a nice couple episode run there on Gotham, which kind of brought it more to the forefront. But yeah, I think he's somebody you want to keep your eye on, guys. I think he's going to rise to the ranks here.
Can't stand him in the video games.
He's creepy, dude. It's a good choice.
So
actually.
Creepy.
For me, my number 10 is one of the more popular ones. I have actually Scarecrow at number 10. I love this character. I especially like what they did with him in the Arkham games, like the look of him. They're starting to darken him up a little bit, and he's really fat. I like the fear gas and just kind of the concept of what he can do. And it really brings out, I guess, Bruce's and Batman's inner strength to not overcome, to overcome fear time and time again when he goes up against Scarecrow. And he's always the one that has to rise up and show no fear. And it just shows, just how ruthless Batman is in that regard. So for me, one of the coolest looking characters, and Scarecrow is my number 10. And that's who I got. So moving on to number 9, LT, who is up next?
9 actually was, I chose Ra's al Ghul.
Oh.
Now,
Demon's Head.
Yeah.
Ra's al Ghul is a formidable foe, but he's the conqueror type thing. Like, I'll destroy the world and that's all. He won't go for like the petty crimes like, Joker, Riddler. Oh, there's a bomb in the bank. You got to go and save the day.
Yeah.
That's the
Is his goal to destroy the world or is it to rule the world?
No, I thought it was to remake the world.
Well, that's true. That's true. He has said to remake it.
I mean, like, even in
like restart as an Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul wants to destroy Gotham to have it reborn.
Mm-hmm.
So that he is a formidable foe in that case, but Batman's not fighting him every day, every other day, even every week. Right. So he is again a big baddie, but not that high on the list.
Fair enough. Tabitha, who do you got?
I have Mr. Freeze as my number 9. I don't really have so much that it's like a back and forth relationship. I just like the aspect of that villain existing. And again, it's kind of like he has a justified pain, like he's been wronged in some way and he's just trying to do the right thing and he just wants to be with his love. And I remember that there was a story that was a little different, that instead of Nora Freeze being like a willing love, it was like she tried to leave him and so he froze her so she couldn't leave him. So he was determined to find a cure, but he actually put her in a state that she was in because he just wanted to keep her. And so that just brought an extra level of creepiness to Mr. Freeze for me.
Stage 5, or
but on top of that, I think the reason why he made my list partially is just because of the Arkham games. I honestly think he was one of the hardest foes that you have to beat because you have to use every single one of your gadgets and you can't reuse the same one. Man, that was just a beast. That was such a beast.
I remember having to play that so many dang times, like over and over and over again. Be like, I cannot beat this guy. Like, what is the deal? No, good choice. Very good choice. Dave, what about you?
Actually, it's pretty high on the list, I guess. My number 9 is Catwoman. She started out, we all know, she started out as quite the villain and became more of a love interest. But I still feel that because she's that close, she could hurt or defeat Bruce Wayne the most. Just because, she could just linger around, and if she ever decides to change her mind.
Is that a story that needs to happen? Is the story that Catwoman, seduces Batman, gets into that groove, and then just like destroys him?
Yeah, that's what I thought Tom King was headed. I thought Tom King was headed that way, and I was
he destroyed him in an emotional way. I could see that, like in a real way, because I think isolation or like being left from a relationship or not given that choice is almost just as detrimental as someone dying because they're no longer a part of your life anymore.
And that would be perfect because, like, again, she could be so close, and Bruce Wayne, he does want love. He built the family.
No.
But now he needs someone else to spend the rest of his life with. The worst thing you could do to a man is when he finally gets that and then just crush him. And it's like, I want to see him get out of that.
Leave him at the altar on top of a building.
Yeah, I know,
right?
Don't jump.
Yeah, exactly. Lee, who do you got?
For number 9, I have someone that's already been mentioned, Clayface. I think he's a great character. Well, there's been so many iterations of him, but I guess for me, and I think they kind of did a mix from him in the animated series. They took like the original one was Basil Carlo, I believe it was. Was, but they switched it to like a Matt Hagen. If I'm off the top of my head, I think that's what his name was in there. Yeah. So they used the Carlo story and gave it to Hagen, which was the whole the actor, the actor who just needed to so in love with himself and all of that. And so I think that really is a pretty tragic case, much like Batman's. All of his foes usually have some kind of tragedy behind them, right? And he's just also not. He's also one of the other ones that are in a higher class too. He's got actually abilities and powers, that like a lot of them really don't. So, but no, that's why for a lot of the reasons that you said as well, Clayface is my number 9 character, and I loved what they did with him. Like I said in the animated series. So that was one of those.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, for sure. For me, number 9 might be a little bit surprised. I actually have Penguin number 9. I think in certain versions of him, he'd be a lot higher, but there's other versions where I'm not on board. Like I love the Danny DeVito, performance of Penguin. I like when he's kind of more that crime boss, not the like wah, wah, that kind of Penguin. Yeah, that's kind of where he kind of drops for me. That when he starts making like the bird effects and it's like over the top. I like more crime boss, Penguin. Hopefully that's the Penguin we're getting in the Batman movie that's coming with Colin Farrell. So love Penguin. I think he's very interesting. Again, we've seen Batman go toe-to-toe with him a lot of times. And he's also, it's not like just Batman versus Penguin. Like he's got foot soldiers that are always there. It makes the test for Batman that much greater. So Penguin is my number 9.
You're less Burgess Meredith than your Oswald Cobblepot, is that right?
Yes, that is exactly right. That is exactly right.
All right, turn that down to the lowest
Yes.
level. All right,
Yeah.
amp up the DeVito. Got it.
I think for me, Penguin didn't make my list because he's just a mob boss. Like, he doesn't have, an extra septum. But then I had Mr. Freeze and Two-Face, so look at me. I guess maybe I just chose a different one. But something about Penguin that's interesting to me, though, for the Batman is that they are picking up more of what they did in Telltale Batman. Like, the actual physical look of it is more what falls in line with Colin Farrell. I'm not a Colin Farrell fan. I will be upfront about that. And I don't know if I can look past it. Like, there's been straight up movies that I've passed over because I'm just like, I can't. I just cannot. So I'm a little disappointed by the casting on that one. I'm a little intrigued by if that is the type of Penguin that they're going for. Is this more sophisticated London thug like they did in Telltale? That would be more interesting to me than to see another Danny DeVito style Penguin.
So I guess we could all individually, and I think we'll get the gist of it. I guess are more people with that, mutated Penguin here, this group here, or you guys more of the mob boss classic, even running for mayor type of Penguin? You know what I mean? I guess maybe you guys all have him on your list as we get to it, or Tabitha said he's not on your list. You said.
Well, even when he runs for mayor, though, it's always like about controlling people, like in the video games and in the comics. He's more about manipulating Gotham. He's more about manipulating the people around him than he is about actually having the power or the authority. But he doesn't try to manipulate Batman because he doesn't care about Batman. He only wants Batman out of his way because he stops him from being the crime thug. Like, that's my thinking. I don't know.
Okay. Interesting point of view. I like it. What do you guys more? Where do you guys fall? I'm just curious. Just a Penguin, because this one has more. He's been shown in different ways. In different versions.
Very versions.
As everybody's kind of got their own version of him, where he's even been a hand-to-hand combatant at times. Being trained in judo and all of that. So I'm just curious what you guys think.
It'd be pretty cool to see like a badass penguin, not like no bird effects or anything, or feeding freaking penguins, like just straight up mob and like
no penguin bombs.
None of that. Like no speech before you shoot someone. Like a badass penguin. I think that would change.
No umbrella guns.
None of that. Just I'm the penguin. That's who the hell I am. Shut up. Bam, I killed someone. Now Batman hates you because you killed someone. Like,
I feel like that's what they tried to do with his little buddy. I can't even remember what his name was. It was another Emperor Penguin. It was like the Emperor Penguin came in and tried to get rid of Penguin. He was supposed to be like a more serious type Penguin who was going to come in and be like, this takeover.
Yeah.
LT, which version of Penguin's your kind of go-to?
I really like the Penguin version we saw in all the Arkham games.
Okay.
Yes, me too. That's the version I like. The
deep thug mobster,
yep.
kingpin type.
The glass in the eye.
Yeah, it's badass. It's very like London, very very posh. I like it. Yeah. So that's the Penguin, guys. We all love penguins. Moving on to number 8, LT, who is bringing in that 8th spot for you?
Well, I kind of broke the rule, and I didn't choose. I chose a bad guy, and not necessarily one of his main rogues, but I did choose Deathstroke as one of his main villain baddies that he always fights. I mean, constantly. From the comics, the video games, and they put up good fights all the time. And I mean, right now in this past comics series, he was there. He was there. Bless. I mean, he's everywhere. He's always there. He's always fighting Batman. And if he wasn't a rogue, I think he should have been. But I love Deathstroke. He's one of my favorite baddies of all DC.
Oh yeah.
He's a badass. I mean, first and foremost, he's definitely a badass, and also unfair because your list is automatically 10 times cooler than mine because I was told we were not allowed to have any of those guys on my list. So then I had to remove him.
My bad.
Anyway,
I didn't
it's
It's
follow
all
this rule.
subjective.
But
It's
yeah.
all subjective.
But no, he is a badass. I mean, Identity Crisis. That one. I always go back to this when I'm telling
Oh,
about
yes.
Deathstroke. When
That's a
he
good
took
one.
out the main three, obviously Supes, Batman, and Wonder Woman were not there. But anyone else in the Justice League that's been throughout there, especially from the satellite era, was, and he took them out. I mean, by
Green
himself.
Arrow, Black
Yeah.
Canary,
Yes.
all of those. Took
Yeah.
out.
Green Lantern. I mean, they were all there, and he just went through them,
Yeah.
like that.
I mean, for me, like he would easily be on my list. I can say because I guess I equate him more with the Teen Titans than I do to Batman.
Well, that's where he
Like
originated.
I don't have him on, but if there was one character that I want to see Batman in a fist fight with, it's Deathstroke. I think my favorite Batman clip ever, minus the BVS warehouse scene, is the Arkham Origins trailer where we see Batman and Deathstroke fighting in the snow on top of like those
Big old
hangers.
storage
Oh my
containers.
gosh, that is like the sickest fight I've seen Batman do. So
Plus,
he's
yeah,
so
Deathstroke.
badass.
Deathstroke is super hard in that game too.
Yeah, yes, he is.
I'm going to admit that my knowledge of Deathstroke is like this big, and my main knowledge is the fact that Harley had an affair with him, so then Joker tried to kill him because he was pissed off because Harley slept with him. That's like and the fact that he's an assassin, and then what we've seen of him in the games. That's my knowledge. So I just learned so much right there.
There's some awesome storylines with Deathstroke.
Oh yeah.
And imagine what could have. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, where you guys lie or fall on the whole Affleck Batman thing, but I mean, his story was going to be Batman and versus Deathstroke.
I was so ready for that.
Was cool.
I know. I was so ready.
I was pumped. What Joe Manganiello was cast as him, who made his appearance at the end of the Justice League, with Lex Luthor. That would have been so tight. And
so ready for that.
And then, what a perfect casting. I mean, there's maybe one or two actors that are, Ben Affleck's size. Joe Manganiello, proud Pittsburgh boy, by the way, is one of those, 6'5", 232. I mean, talk about a physical, just brawling fight. I was so ready for that. I was so ready.
Badass. But what's his name? Morales. I don't know if you guys watched.
Morales.
He did a
Tight.
fantastic portrayal of Deathstroke. I thought in that.
For sure. All right, Tabitha.
Great choice, man.
Number 8. Yeah, great choice, Tabitha. Who's your number 8?
My number 8 is going to be Andrea Beaumont from Mask of the Phantasm, because I feel like, kind of a point that was made earlier, she had the power to break Batman a little bit because he was willing to walk away to be with her. And then, she left because of the situation. And then when she comes back, he has this new situation again. Do I leave being Batman again? And then it turns out that she's really the villain all along. And she knows that he can't be with her because of the choices that she's made. So she just removes the decision from him and leaves. And so I think she is a Batman villain because A, she pulled the wool over his eyes, and B, she almost destroyed Batman and, kind of what he stood for and signified, because he almost gave it up. Not once, but twice. And it was kind of like that, can Batman really find love or not type story. So she's my number 8.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories. Like, the Mask of the Phantasm is one of my favorites. So great choice. David, who is your number 8?
Number 8, I want Scarecrow. Every time the Scarecrow is involved, if he uses his toxin correctly, it's always like somehow that he just messes it up or someone messes it up for him. He could be scary as hell, because like in the video games, how badass is a Scarecrow though?
Oh,
and like you don't even need
that costume was so good.
Yeah, it's like, holy crap! Like this is the Scarecrow I want to see somewhere to scare the hell out of people. Even in Batman Begins, like what he did to the city, and everyone freaking out, and I was like, wow, like look how much the Scarecrow could do with just a water supply.
Right.
And so yeah, number 8. That's where he sits.
Good choice, sir. Moving right along, Lee. Who you got?
Well, I think you had a fantastic choice for number 8, David, because I also have Scarecrow for number 8. Jonathan Crane himself. For a lot of the reasons everyone else said, but he brings that horror aspect to me. with Batman, with the fear toxin and all. Some fantastic stories, some great stories throughout the years that he's been involved in. So I thought they did a great job with him in Gotham as well. He kept popping his head throughout throughout a couple different seasons, which I think.
Yeah, because
Real
they
quick
brought back
segue.
his son,
Right.
father and son.
Yeah, they
As
did,
Scarecrow.
and as Scarecrow, yeah. And, I thought, by the way, just a quick segue, if they had just been able to age up Bruce and have him plant him right in that show, I thought that was a fantastic portrayal of DC Gotham's version. I thought it was really good stuff. But anyway, but that's my number 8, Scarecrow.
Fair enough. For me, it is Two-Face for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned earlier. I love, especially like in the animated series where him and Bruce are like best friends, and he's fighting this split personality, and it starts there, and then we just see this deep dive, especially beautifully told in the animated series. I love the look of him. The voice change he does is really, really cool. And he literally depends on a coin. I mean, he's literally 50-50 on everything. So you're just kind of waiting to see, where he goes based off of a coin. So he's smart. He knows Bruce, and anything for me personally, any relationship with Bruce that brings like that part of it into then just, this is a bad guy, I'm going to fight him. If there's an emotional tie to it for Bruce, not just Batman, that immediately elevates you. So that's why he is
causes hesitation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you even see when he turns into Two-Face in the anime, I mean, his first word, he's like, oh, Harvey, no.
Yeah.
You don't see that from Batman very often.
I didn't think about it when I brought it up as him as my number 10, but the fact that in Hush, Tommy Elliott fixed his face, so he has a full face again, and he's like repaired. And that's not like the only Two-Face story in which Two-Face has been repaired.
Yeah, the Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, when he all he sees is a messed up face, but his face is completely normal.
Yeah,
he's like, have your laugh. It's like that part's creepy. It's crazy.
His psyche is beyond repair.
Yeah, exactly. So you can fix the face, but you can't fix like what's going on between the ears. Cool. Well, eight's rocking. Let's move on to number 7. LT, who you got?
Again, I went outside the box as far as villains, and I chose the Crime Syndicate's Owlman.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Now, do you see why? Only because he's the evil version of Batman on a different Earth, and it's the same abilities, same background story as far as riches and gadgets and stuff, and in the comics and even in the cartoons, like I think it was Justice League versus Crime Syndicate. I don't remember the actual title.
Justice League of Two Earths.
Yes, there you go.
Christ.
Yeah, and he was a bastard in that movie.
James Woods portrayed him. That's who did his voice.
Yeah. So I chose him again, like I said, out of the box, only because he has been a formidable foe. We haven't seen him lately, or actually any of the Crime Syndicate. We did briefly see them in the comic series Hell Arisen with Apex Lex fighting Batman Who Laughs as a 4-part miniseries. We just saw Crime Syndicate a little bit, but whenever they do meet, it's always Batman versus Owlman, and I just love the fact that they're almost polar. They're opposites, but that's why I chose them.
No, that's a great choice. That's a great choice. Tabitha, who do you got?
I chose a rogue. I chose Riddler as my number 7, partially because I feel like part of Riddler is like trying to outsmart Batman in a lot of ways, and one of the stories that stands out to me is like Batman 0 Year. And that was like a real trip. That was a trippy story to go through. Like I really had to like double back on some of the issues, because I was like, wait, what did I just read, and what just happened? Because there was just so much in that one involved. But I think that he's a formidable foe. But I really love Batman Forever and all of the riddles that they did, and the portrayal of Jim Carrey. And I think it is really fascinating, whether you get kind of like the crazier Riddler or the more egomaniac, like you see in like the video games, versus like the kook in, you know, Batman the Animated Series, where it's just about being the Riddler. You know, he just wants to outsmart Batman, and he doesn't really care about anything else.
Yeah, I would say for the Riddler, that actually for the upcoming Batman live action, the Paul Dano Riddler casting is actually my favorite casting of the entire movie up to this point. Like, I was like, because I've, you know, him in Prisoners and some other smaller, like, he is an A+ actor. So I'm really excited to see what he does with Riddler. So fantastic choice. Dave, who do you got?
I got Ra's al Ghul. Just because with him, like as LT mentioned earlier, he wants to like reboot, like pretty much reset Gotham. He's like, you know, it's been toxic and all this stuff, and it's like, wait a minute, you like what are you trying to do, dude? Every single time we read it, he's like, you know, we just, you know, we've done this before, and you know, we'll do what we have to do to, you know, maintain balance. And that's nuts. Along with the League of Assassins, like you have a league of trained assassins with you.
Yeah,
that's dark. That's tough. I still don't know like how Batman gets through it all the time against him and his daughter. It's just he's a fascinating villain to me. And we haven't heard. When was the last time we heard from him?
Robin.
Well, Robin's death, right? When he killed
Robin R.I.P.
Yes, that's what it was. Thank you. When he did that, that was a big storyline when they had to go get his body from Apocalypse and all of that.
Yeah, they should bring him back. I'm just saying.
For sure.
He's coming back. Him and that bit of his.
Lazarus. Bring him back. No, I'm with you. Lee, who do you got?
For number 7?
Yes.
Tabitha. We're on the same page. Enigma. Yeah. I have him for a lot of the same reasons you said, so I don't want to, you know, exhaust it, but you know, this is where Batman's intellect really comes into play. You know what I mean? And like you said, with a lot of his stories, that is really where it is. It's all about the, you know, matching the wits, trying to figure out the different riddles. I always go back to the animated series a lot because that was such a big, it really defined a lot of his characters so much that some of those characters portrayal on there went from there to the page, you know, and then I mean, hell, it created Harley Quinn.
Yep.
You know, but anyway, I thought they did a great job of doing him. I mean, hey, I like Frank Gorshin also, from Batman '66. I'm not gonna lie, but that's the Riddler for a lot of reasons you said. That's why he's been
cool.
Great choice. For me, it is a character we've already touched on a little bit, and that is Catwoman. For me, she actually would probably be in my top 5 if she wasn't used more as being a part of the family now. I love always that cat and mouse game, or cat and bat game, I guess it should be called, between her and Batman, where like he wants to catch her, but he kind of really doesn't. You know, he's always digged her. Even when she's doing bad things, he's like, I remember when she's in the animated series and she does something and he's just like, wow, that's my kind of girl. You know, you've always just kind of waited for that relationship to happen, but just that dynamic alone, it's so fascinating. The Hush animated movie that came out, you know, I know it's divisive for a lot of people, but I thought she stole the show in that, like her relationship, and she was so fantastic in it, the way they portrayed her. And I can't wait to see her a lot more. She's been used more and more, so she's becoming very popular. And for me, she's definitely up there. So she's my number 7, and I think she has, you know, a lot of possibilities to be a lot higher. Oh, not to mention she's produced some world-class hotties portraying her, so I'll take it. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Michelle Pfeiffer as a little kid, I was like, okay, I see you.
I'm still like, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Zoe Kravitz, you can call me.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, so we're gonna wrap up to number 6, the last on part 1 of this episode. Who is your number 6, LT?
We're at the midway point, and that's where it started getting tough. I had a tie between these two, and I chose as number 6. I don't know if you're familiar with this figure, but Mr. Freeze.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, the Primal Age.
Very cool. That's a cool figure.
Yeah. Quick side note: this is the figure that started the Comic Collectors Guild. Izzy when we became friends about 2018, he sent me this figure free of charge because he knew I was a collector, and thus was born the Collectors Guild.
Awesome.
So
Is that from New York City Comic Con?
this is New York's Comic 2018 special medal.
I missed out on that. I'm so mad.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Primal Age, Mr. Freeze.
He just gave it to me, and I'm like, okay, I'll do what you want.
That's awesome.
We just become best friends. That's awesome.
Yeah.
A little bit of history drop there.
Now,
Nice, I like
Mr. Freeze, I chose him because, I mean, like, he was portrayed in the movie Heart of Ice and that, but ultimately everything he did was for the love of his wife, even if it meant going against the grain, stealing this and that, you know, like the diamonds in the movie, whatever. Batman, I mean, he was a formidable foe for Batman in any form, because he was doing it for love and he would not stop.
Right.
You know, to just, you know,
Cure his wife.
To his wife, you know. So I chose him higher. I mean, as 6 because, again, number 5, it was a tie, but yeah, that's my choice.
Solid choice. Tabitha, who you got?
I have Scarecrow. Scarecrow is my number 6, and it falls along the lines of, you know, the fact that he does work with fear, and that is why Batman exists, is kind of the fear that he had when he lost his parents, and how the world became for him, you know, when that occurred, and then overcoming that fear and becoming something better, but also trying to make the world a better place to stop the same occurrences from happening to other people. But Scarecrow by far is the scariest to me, like, in that aspect, just because he always has these sneaky ways of getting it in the air or, you know, the water or whatever, and so it's like affecting them before they even realize what's happening. What also comes to mind is just like the aspect of like fear itself and like dying of fear. So yeah, that but it and if anybody is familiar with the Injustice storyline, that by far is like the darkest Scarecrow involved storyline. It's Scarecrow and Joker like team up thing right there. And so that makes him a very, very scary person, just based off of his knowledge and ability to produce these chemicals that can actually mess with people both on a permanent level, but also like on a crazy pandemic level too. I mean, we saw that in Batman Begins.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
good choice.
sure.
Scarecrow's been popular on this episode.
Yeah.
He's a great character. Side note, LT, I think you mentioned you were a Super Friends fan, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember him being in? He had a storyline, actually one of those most serious. You know, Super Friends was not known for having its serious storylines as much as we were fans of it. But Scarecrow's storyline with Crime Alley, I don't know if you actually remember that specific cartoon.
Yeah.
And that was actually really serious. And that specific episode of the Super Friends alone planted the seed for the Batman animated series.
Right.
That we got years later.
Batman chasing him down the alley while it was raining, and I remember that.
Yeah, it was much more serious in a serious vein than in a serious vein. So anyway, I just thought of that while you were talking, Tabitha. Great choice.
No.
For sure. Dave, who's your number 6?
All right. I really went out for this one. I didn't know one in the Rogue Gallery. It's kind of hard because it's not a specific person. I picked the Court of Owls.
Ooh. I didn't even think of that as an option. I'm so mad.
After reading Court of Owls, you know, I had that whole oh shit factor. These guys have been around this entire time, looking over.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you jump into conspiracy theories and you think about
the Illuminati.
like, and all that stuff. It's like, whoa, like all this time people couldn't put this in a Batman story. And when you see it, you saw parts of it in Gotham, the series, TV series, and it was like, it was kind of like too premature to put it in the TV series, but it still had a good vibe, kind of like in a little bit. Yeah. But, that's my number 6 because they're always watching.
Rumor has it the next Arkham game is going to be the Court of Owls.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I would love that.
That'd be so dope.
And now they've even tied the Court of Owls in even closer to the Bat family in a way because what they're doing with Dick Grayson.
Yep.
I don't know if you know with that storyline and how I guess he was affiliated, his family is affiliated with them and all, and now they're trying to get him back. So yeah, that's an awesome choice. I didn't even think about that.
Creeping in.
And I mean, just talent, just within the courthouse, talent alone. I mean, he's kicked the crap out of Batman a couple times, you know. So great choice, Lee. Bring it home. Who you got?
For me, number 6, I have the Penguin. For me, he is my number 6 choice. All iterations of him, I've always liked him. You know, I
even bomb.
Even Bomb, Batman. Hey, you know what? If it wasn't for Bomb, Penguin, and all of that stuff with Batman 66, I wouldn't even be here right now. Okay, so I've got to show a little bit of love to my origin story of how I came into the fandom of the comics. But no, I really do like him. I like all iterations. That one, to a lesser extent, of course. But the Mafia boss, I do like how they kind of made him that. I like that trajectory that they've taken that character into. Yeah. But I also did like the grotesque mutated one when they tried that experiment with him in the 90s. Mm-hmm. So I think they're always trying to find him more interesting. That is one place I feel like the animated series did fail, is they didn't give us a true definitive version of the Penguin. Much like every other villain we've talked about has that one or two fantastic classic stories that you recall. I'm hard pressed to think of one for the Penguin.
Yeah, the only one I remember is like Batman's in my basement, and it was not really because of the Penguin. Yeah, it was like one of the few episodes that wasn't my favorite, but Penguin's great. Very good choice. For me, I'm lining up with LT on this one. I have Mr. Freeze as well. Heart of Ice, one of my absolute favorite Batman stories ever. For everything LT said, I love, no matter how bad and how dark he has to turn, he's doing it because he loves his wife. He's trying to save his wife. So because of that, he really will not stop, like regardless of what it is. And I think it was even cool in a couple, like Sub-Zero to see, Bruce ended up actually kind of saving his wife. And we see, Victor like start crying a little bit because he's just happy. He just stops, he's a normal guy, but kind of the tragedy aspect to Mr. Freeze. And he's one of the few villains, like, you kind of feel sorry for him. Like, even no matter when he does bad stuff, you're like, I mean, he's doing it to save his wife. So like, you're kind of pulling for him. I'll even take a couple Arnold Schwarzenegger one-liners every now and again.
That movie is just perfect one-liners all the time. When somebody was talking about Mr. Freeze earlier, I really wanted to say the line about Mrs. Freeze and Poison Ivy. Like, that's just all that comes to mind.
Exactly. But that's my number 6. Obviously, we can talk about this thing all day, but that is going to be our episode for part 1. We are going to talk a lot more because part 2 is going to be coming next Friday, where we're going to be breaking down number 5 through 1. So the heavy hitters. In the meantime, please check out our website, www.comiccollectorsguild.com. We would love to check out your collection, have you be a part of our family of collectors. Gentlemen and ladies, it has been an honor to be on with you. Thank you so much for taking the time and talking everything Batman with me.
Cool. Thank you.
It's fun.
Lee, it's been real as always, sir.
Indeed, my friend.
All right, guys. Same bat time, same bat family. We'll talk to you soon.